Hey YouTube, Ed here with Jack of all trades and welcome to another video. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the VEVOR 1500 pound ATV trailer. I picked this up on Amazon. It was on sale. This is the box that it came in. We're going to put it together and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. So let's get right into the video. And welcome back. So, like I said in the intro, I've got this VEVOR 1500 pound. It's a 15 cubic foot ATV trailer. They call it an ATV trailer. You can pull it behind your garden tractor, your ATV, anything like that. So we're going to go over this today. But before I do, let's go ahead and let me just show you the assembly. The assembly on this was very, very easy. It was not difficult to do. You can have this put together in about 20 minutes. It just does not take very long to put together. So let's go ahead and let's just go over the assembly really quick, and then we'll talk about the cart.
All right, so here I've got the box up on my pallet forks, and I'm just opening it up and getting everything out of the box. They did a pretty good job of packing it. The tires actually still had air in them, which was fairly impressive. And everything was in the box, nice and neatly packed. And you could see it was all wrapped in foam sheeting for protection. I did notice that the guardrails did have some paint chips in them, presumably from shipping. Regardless, I really don't care. This thing is going to get used, and I'm going to haul wood with it and stuff like that, and the paint isn't going to last forever. So, yeah, there was some paint chips in the railing, but overall the packaging was pretty good. So the first thing I like to do while I'm unpacking is I inspect all the parts, make sure I have them all, get them laid out in some kind of logical order so that it makes the assembly process a little bit easier and everything's easy to find. I was a former supervisor in a manufacturing facility where we built agricultural tractors, and this is always a good first step, is to just get all your parts laid out and get everything in a sequencer and laid out to a point where you can easily find them and put the whole thing together. Now the tools that you're going to need a 13 millimeter socket and wrench. You're going to need a 19 millimeter socket or wrench. You're going to need a needle nose pliers, possibly a hammer to tap some parts together. I used a Phillips head screwdriver to help line up some of the holes, and then I used a screw gun. The hardware was very nicely packaged. It came in a bag, and there's like 29 pieces of hardware here. If you look at the picture there, they put all the nuts and the washers with the bolts that it goes with. It was just very well packaged, and it was a way to ensure that they had everything. Now, the first step in putting this thing together is to basically put the two halves of the main portion of the cart together with the two bolts that they indicate. Very, very simple. Get yourself a nice flat surface to try and get these things lined up. Very, very simple. Don't tighten down everything right away. Just get the bolts and the nuts started, and then when you get all the edges flushed up and you get everything lined up the way you want it, then you can go ahead and grab your wrenches and tighten everything up. But the first rule of assembly is you never tighten all the bolts right away, and you never start bolts with power equipment or start threading things together with power equipment. You always start them by hand and then run them together with your power tools later. But yes, get the bolts in there, get the nuts started, get everything lined up nice and flat and flush, whatever you have to do to get that done, and then go ahead and tighten everything down. This was the first step. Like I said, it's basically putting the two halves of the main portion of the cart together. Then the second part of it is to put the first axle support in. Doesn't matter what side you use or start with. You can start with either side. Just put one of the axle supports in. Again, leaving it kind of loose. Doesn't need to be tight right away. Use the four bolts and nuts that they indicate that you should use in the instructions. Very, very simple. And then once you got all those bolts and stuff started, you can go ahead and you can actually snug these down right away. You don't need to leave this loose. This one you can snug these down right off the bat. Uh, all you're doing is putting that together, getting it prepared to accept the axle, which is the next portion of it. You insert the axle into that one axle support, and that's the next step in the instruction, using the C bolts, which is the mid-size bolts, or the smallest bolts, excuse me. And then these you do want to leave loose. Just go ahead and get the bolts and the nuts started, and then leave them loose. And then once you get that done, take and flip it around so that you can get to the other side of the axle support and install the second axle support the same way. Install the bolts on the two bolts on the axle, and then once you've got all that done, you can snug all that down and your axle is installed. Uh, Very, very simple, very easy process. The instructions are very well laid out. If you follow the instructions, you will not have any kind of a problem here. Then the next step is to go ahead and install that first portion of the tongue. Again, very simple. You put the U-strap in there, run in the large carriage bolt, get it started. Now you may see that there's a bend in that hitch. That bend is there on purpose. That is not damage. That is not a design flaw. That's intentional. And then go ahead and snug that big nut down with a 19 millimeter socket. And then the next step is to go ahead and put the second portion of the tongue in there with the two bolts that they give you. Now, it says in the advertising material that that's a 2-inch tube, and that is incorrect. The tube is actually smaller than 2 inches. The hitch is 2 inches wide, but the tube is not. And then I went ahead and I snugged those down with my impact gun, and that was done. The next step would be to install the tires. Very, very simple. There's 2 washers per tire and a cotter pin. Very, very easy to install. Now these tires are directional, so make sure that you put them on in the correct direction. But I did take and squirted some grease inside of the hub. I don't know if I needed to or not, but I thought it couldn't hurt. It never hurts to have some grease in there. And then I took my finger and I went and I smeared it around in there just to give it some additional grease inside of there. Installed a washer, installed a tire, and as you can see, I'm installing this tire in the wrong direction. So don't do like I do like I say. And then take your needle nose pliers and bend the cotter key over so that those tires stay captive. So again, it's a washer, a tire, another washer, the cotter key, bend them over, and it's installed. Once you've got the tires installed, I went ahead and flipped it over onto its wheels so that I could finish up the installation. I found that it was pretty easy if I went ahead and I hooked it up to my trailer hitch on my ATV just so it didn't move around and roll around while I was finishing up the install. And then the next portion of it is to install the rails on the top, the orange rails. There's 3 different types of rails. There's the ones that go on the side, which are a little longer. The one that goes in the back, which is built completely different than all the rest of them. And then the one that goes in the front is a little shorter. Very, very simple. They just slide right into place. This is where you might need to have a rubber mallet to kind of help pound them in. It's not a perfect fit, but they do go in there. And then install the clips to hold everything together.
All right, so as you can see, the assembly was actually very, very easy. I got to give them props. They did a really good job of compiling the instruction manual. It went together exactly like they said it did. It was super, super simple to put together. And you know me, I'm kind of big on instructions. If the instructions suck, the product almost isn't worth the price that you pay for it. Now I picked this cart up on Amazon. It was on sale. They say it was 24% off. I think they were claiming, but I picked it up for about $275, and normally these sell for a little over 300. But VEVOR is kind of known for selling things cheaper, or they'll take somebody else's product, they'll rebrand it and sell it cheaper. Regardless, for $275, it was a pretty good deal. It came shipped UPS. The box was a little beat up, but anytime you're shipping something that weighs 120 pounds in a cardboard box, you can almost expect that there's going to be some shipping damage. As a result of that, I've noticed there was some chips in the paint, most specifically on the guardrails. I don't know if that was UPS's fault or if that's the way they got shipped from VEVOR, but the paint is chipping off in a couple of places. and I think that was mostly due to shipping and handling. It wasn't really packed super well as far as packing material is concerned. They did put, some styrofoam and some foam sheets around it and stuff like that, and some kind of an attempt to keep them from chipping off. But almost all of these orange railings have got some kind of paint damage on them, and like I said, I'm assuming that's from shipping. The tires, they're nicer tires than I thought they would be. They're not super heavy tread tires, but then again, they're not supposed to be. You're not powering these tires. They're just carrying a load, and they're kind of an eight. They've got a V-shaped pattern on them. I forget what they call them, a clincher or something like that. But they're actually a pretty nice tire. They're pretty tall. Should give you some pretty decent ground clearance. And shockingly enough, when I got them out of the box, they were still inflated. They had air in them when I got them, and they hadn't lost any air over the course of the time that it took to get them to me. The tires are actually pretty good. I'm also fairly impressed with the axle itself. The axle on this thing actually looks like kind of a legit axle. It's well made. It's pretty heavy duty compared to other trailers. It's not, but this is a garden cart trailer or a yard trailer or whatever you want to call it. This trailer is not designed to go over the road. You're supposed to be using this in your yard, or you maybe take it down an ATV trail to collect firewood or whatever. But there's no safety chains on this thing. It doesn't have a ball or a receiver ball hitch. There's no turn signals or any of that kind of business. This is supposed to be used in your farm or on your property or in your yard or something like that. But the tires and the axle are really well built. Uh, the tilt system for the trailer is actually very, very simple, and it works, shockingly enough. And they've got it balanced to a point where there's just a little bit of extra weight in the back. Now, once I get it loaded, we'll see how it tilts. But the way they've got this balanced, it should tilt fairly fairly easily, depending on how you load it. So the tilt function on it seems to be pretty smooth. It's a very simple system, not complicated or difficult. They did a pretty nice job of that. Other than the paint damage, the fit and finish on the machine or on the trailer is actually pretty decent. I don't know if it's paint or powder coat. It doesn't really matter because this thing's going to get the hell beat out of it. I'm going to use it to haul firewood and things like that. I'm not really looking for the paint to last all that long. Overall, I'm kind of impressed with the quality of the trailer. It's pretty nice for what you're getting, and for a sub $300 ATV trailer, I'm not at all disappointed with it. Now they do give you a rubber mat to put in the bottom if you're going to haul dirt and things like that. Uh, I may or may not end up using that, but they do give you a rubber mat. Otherwise, I'll probably just end up using it mostly as it sits right now. Like I said, assembly was really super, super easy. They had exactly the right number of bolts, nuts, washers. Everything was all laid out very, very well. Very, very impressed. And it was super simple assembly. When I shot the video for it, I had 30 minutes worth of video shot, and a lot of that video was just me goofing around, moving the camera and things like that. So, I mean, you'll get this thing put together in less than half an hour. I haven't used it yet. I'm going to go do that now. I'm going to go, I'm going to grab the chainsaw. I'm going to run out, and I've got a spot where there's a couple of trees down. We're going to collect up some firewood, and I'm going to pull it, and we're going to see how this thing works a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. And so there you have it, the VEVOR 1,500 pound ATV cart. What do I think of the cart overall? It's actually pretty legit. Now understand, VEVOR did not send me this. I bought this with my own money. I bought it on Amazon. It got delivered by the UPS driver. So I have no skin in the game to give these guys a good or a bad review. But for the money and for what this cart is, it's actually pretty decent. It was super easy to put together. It seems like it functions very well. I like the big tires. It's able to traverse some fairly uneven terrain. It seems to haul loads fairly well, although I've only hauled one load with it, but I did haul a load with it and it seems to be fine. Assembly was super easy. Really impressed with that. The instructions were great. The overall finish of the cart itself was pretty good. Like I said, there was some paint chipping around the rails, but I think that was mostly shipping damage. Now, a few things to understand when you order this. It's going to show up at your door and it's going to be heavy. It's about 120 pounds. I think the cart itself weighs 112, and then there's probably 5 or so pounds of packing. So understand that when this comes, if you're not a big person, you're probably going to have some help getting it into the garage or getting it into the house or whatever it might be. So understand it's going to be a pretty big, heavy package. It is well packed, and they do a really good job of that. So overall, I'm fairly impressed. For under $300, this is going to be a pretty handy cart. The only thing that I'm going to caution you on is when you're using the dump feature, don't think that you are going to put it up into the dump mode and then drive away, because it will pivot like this, and it's not going to work like you think it's going to work. So just understand that if you're dumping like this, that just driving away and expecting the trailer to stay straight, it's not going to do it. I don't know that the dump feature is all that handy, to be honest with you. I really don't. There's not enough angle so that, whatever material you've got in there is just going to roll out on its own, like logs and stuff like that. But it has a dump feature, and I guess the dump feature to me is kind of pointless. I doubt that I will ever use it again. But other than that, the trailer's legit. I'm certainly not disappointed that I bought it. It's definitely going to get some use around the cabin here, and I'm going to use it for just exactly what I used it for today. I'm going to use it to haul some firewood out of the woods. We had loggers come through here last winter, and there's a whole bunch of slashings laying around, so I've got plenty of campfire wood to haul in, and I'll just use it for work around here. And it's going to definitely get that done, and it's actually going to be a bit of a deer hauler for me. If I do get a deer this fall, this is going to probably be used to take my deer out of the woods. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Go ahead and buy it. I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. I'm fairly impressed with it, and like I said, VEVOR didn't send me this. I paid for it with my own money, so I've got no reason to give you anything other than my honest opinion about it. And I think it's going to be a good little trailer. Now we'll find out over the course of some time how this thing holds up, but I don't expect that I'm going to have any kind of problems with it. With that, this is Ed from Jack of All Trades. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you to my longtime subscribers and everybody who watches these videos. And if you do me the solid of hitting that like and subscribe button down below, I'd really appreciate it. I don't ever ask you for money, and I don't have a Patreon account. I just ask for the likes and the subscribes and the comments to help me with the algorithms. I really do appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you on the next video.